I'm Chris Carlson. I've been doing this for probably 20 years, collecting chips. I did not know about the Chip Collectors Club for probably the first 10 or 12 years. But I came down here, I think 2012 or 2011 was my first convention, and you'll see me every time. I mean, this is just great. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna just briefly talk about Indian casinos. They have two casinos there. They're both in the southwest corner of the state. They have compacts, and they're not subject to taxation and the regular rules that regular casinos are. They did, however, agree to the $100 max bet. When Colorado first started, and that I think I have a slide a little bit down the line, it was a $5 max bet. And Colorado was pretty creative with coming up with rules to get around that $5 bet. Bonus 6 is an example, Let It Ride. They came up with a multi-action blackjack, which was where you play, the dealer has one card, you get your hand, dealer would have one card, but he would play it, for one spot, move on to, he'd flip another card, and it was, if you knew what you were doing, you could win some serious cash on that. I actually came down here to the Mirage a few years ago, and they had that game. I couldn't believe it. Needless to say, that game was not there a month later, because that was not a winner for the casino. But they have, the basic games. However, slot machines, roulette, blackjack, craps, bingo. The Indian casinos are allowed live keno. I don't believe both of them have it. Only one did. The other one may have it now. I haven't been there in over a year, so. But if you want to play live keno, you're going to the southwest corner of the state, and it's beautiful there. It really is. This is one of them, the Ute Mountain, and it was open in September of '92. Gambling was actually legal in '91. So they were they already were building when the law was passed, but they were a little bit behind. This is the bigger of the two. It has 2 restaurants, a fitness center, pool, and a hot tub. And it's operated by the Ute Mountain, and it's 10 miles south of Cortez, which is near the Four Corners region. And this is the other one. This one's a little smaller, 140 rooms, lazy river. This one opened a year after the other one. And, same games, craps table. Oh, they do have live keno, I'm sorry. So yeah, both of them do have live keno. And then illegal chips. I'm not going to really get into this too much. I do have pictures. I got the pictures from our own chip guide, as it was my best source, believe it or not. Interesting fact, and I was amazed as putting this together, I learned that, in 1822, supposedly in the corner, up in the other corner, Wyoming and Utah, Brown Saloon was supposedly, arguably, believed to be the first saloon in the West, and it, like I say, it borders on Colorado. It's no longer there, but and these are just some of the pictures I got from, our own chip guide. There's really not much to talk about. I mean, the owner turned it over to his son, and we don't know for sure if any gaming actually continued, but they both died. This is another one. This was in Brush, Colorado, which is out in the plains, cow town completely. I mean, and then we have City Market, which was actually in Cripple Creek downtown. Well, For those of you that have been to Cripple Creek, you know downtown is basically one block. And then another one. And then we have the Valley Pool Hall. And this was in Central Colorado, which is just north of Denver. And then this was in Denver, the Anoa Cigar Company. Are these pictures okay?
Yeah.
Back here? And WJW was Willis, of course. And then Tex Wilson. This was 1209 Pennsylvania Street is now a residential area. I don't know if there was buildings there back then or what. But supposedly these chips were also used at the Globe in Arizona. And then this was up in Fort Collins, which is almost in Wyoming. And then down south, Pueblo, south of Colorado Springs there. And Frank DeMarco, again in Pueblo. Another one from Pueblo. And this was in the mountains. And there was probably a lot in the mountains that we don't know about. Just especially because of the lead, all the gold and silver. And that's really how these towns got built, and well, I'll be speaking about that here shortly. Baca Club, everybody's heard of the Baca Club that's into the illegals. It was big. And then they created the Baca Grand. The Brown Palace, downtown Denver. I was amazed, I didn't know this. Opened August 12, 1892. It's the second longest operating hotel in Denver. And it was the first atrium-style hotels ever built in the country. And it was also the first fireproof building. It was built out of brick, the exterior. And it was mainly built from Colorado red granite, Arizona sandstone. And it's on the National Historic Register in 1970. It was just recently featured in a movie, Our Souls at Night, with Jane Fonda and Robert Redford. And in 2012, they added a spa and a huge autograph collection. I don't actually have any pictures of it, but Marriott is the current owner. There was supposedly a tunnel from the Brown Palace to the building, the Bear building across the street. There is railroad tracks found in the Revere building, but back then everybody had tracks because of the coal. So it's hard to prove that there was actually gaming there. They never found chips or anything. So.
There was prostitution there, though. That was all the biggity bigs came there, and they had the tunnel so that they wouldn't be seen going into the house of prostitution.
Yes, that is true. And there's a picture of the outside. That building's still there, and it does very well. It's very expensive. Okay, why it worked. As town sprouted in the 19th century, outside of ports and at river crossings and railheads, the mining districts. I mean, you have towns that were basically built overnight. And, male population, you gotta have the 3 W's, whiskey, women, and wage women. Early camps and saloons, brothels, and gambling houses would appear almost overnight. Structures could be, a tent with a lantern hanging in it. Dirt floor. A bar would be, 2 whiskey barrels with a board put between them. And, prostitution, a little cot in the back. And a covered wagon and, gambling outfits with rickety table, greasy dog-eared car. And the towns grew and prospered. And then they would, okay, now it's a wood building. Now it's a brick building.
Yeah.
And they got pretty big, some of them. I was amazed. gambling was actually considered to be a profession back there, and a respectable one, just like lawyers, you know. But Leadville was designated as a historic landmark district in '61. It's over 10,000 feet, known as Cloud City or 2 Mile High City. Again, blossomed overnight as gold was discovered in California Gulch by Horace Tabor. And it was hard to get gold after a few years from the heavy black sand that was in the sluice boxes and stuff. 1874, they figured out a way that they could, 1874, it was discovered that lead mineral ceresite was responsible and traced to what is now Leadville. And again, overnight, they actually at one time were giving Denver a run to become capital. And it was founded by Horace Tabor and August Meyer. William Nye opens his first saloon, and many more to follow. 1879, in 2 years, 120 saloons, 59 boarding houses, 36 brothels, 3 newspapers. The bad thing is we didn't have chips back then. We used silver dollars. But by 1880, it had gas lights, water mains, 5 churches, 3 hospitals, 6 banks, and a school for 1,100 people. I mean, back then, that's incredible. Many of the buildings were constructed with brick, hauled in by wagons. Now remember, this is 10,000 feet, and Denver is probably 90 miles away. So it would probably take a good week, if not more, to get this stuff there. There were some famous people there. Baby Doe McCourt, she, big scandal with Tabor when he was a senator, and Bat Masterson, Del Faro for Big Ed at the Palace Variety Theater in Creed. Oops. No, Creed. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in Creed also. Bat Masterson was all over the place. But Doc Holliday actually shot a sheriff over $5.
Wow.
And he was found not guilty by his peers. Alice Iris, Poker Alice, learned how to play poker in Leadville from her husband. The unsinkable Molly Brown, the Titanic survivor, she actually was in Leadville. And then hundreds of gunfighters. I just listed a few because the list could go on and on and on. Broadmoor down in Colorado Springs, Cheyenne Mountain, opened in 1891. Again, no chips, it was before we did that. But it's at the base of Cheyenne Mountain, Georgian style building, and it had a billiards room. A lot of the billiard rooms, anybody that's read the recent CCA magazine, billiards and a lot of billiard companies that make the balls switched over and make chips to survive because of the shortage of ivory. But this one got destroyed. It's pretty small. They did rebuild it to make it look like that. Today, it looks like this place. It's huge. And there's no gaming there now. There was a few other ones, Eldora, 1898, and it's pretty small, as you can see. 6, 8 people across, and
Holy
the
Moses.
Holy Moses and Creed. Yeah, maybe you want to go in there, right?
Oh, that's
Summer
nice.
Saloon, now there's a brick one. I tried to get like a wood one, a brick one.
Yeah.
Again, there's hundreds of these, but, due to time constraints. Okay, now we're going to talk about modern gaming. In 1990, voters approved Amendment 4 to legalize limited gaming. $5 gaming. In only 3 towns, they had to be national historic districts, and the goal was to try to bring these towns back to survivability. A lot of these towns, I think like right now, even maybe 90 people live in these towns. The rest is, you know, the gamblers and the industry. But they had really strict rules at first. $5, operation hours were from 8 to 2. And that was weird because the first time I ever went to Cripple Creek, it's like, you know, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I think I'm gonna go gambling. Well, I go down there and there's a big road. And it's like, and the floor's empty. Well, you're not doing no gambling tonight, you know. But, like I say, they had ways, the multi-action blackjack was a good way to get around that $3 or $5 minimum bet. Buildings had to be pre-World War I structure. No more than 35% of the building could be used for gambling, and less than 50% of any floor, and no more than 2 contiguous rooms. So these places, for those that haven't been there, seriously, you can walk in one room and it'll be as big as this front here. And then there's a door and you walk into another one, but you can't have the third room. Some of this has changed, some of it hasn't. In 2009, they actually got $100 stakes, which means now they can bring in craps, roulette, and it was good for everybody, except for the losers, you know. But no, really, the towns they have really invested a lot of this money back into the towns, and it's really something to see if you've never been there. Blackhawk, in the early days, this is how it all started. John Gregory found gold in a gulch, actually about halfway in between Blackhawk and Central City. And people just, you know, gold. Do I need to say anymore? I mean, you're coming. 1864, it was incorporated as one of Colorado's first cities and became the milling center. In 1872, it was connected by railway finally to Denver so they could actually get the ore out.
Wow.
This is what it looks like today in Blackhawk. They let the corporations in. This is the Ameristar. The Riviera was there. They're gone now. I think it's called Grand Monarch. But yes, this is where all the corporations went. It's Las Vegas style. If you're in one of these, you think you're here.
Yeah.
You know, they're comparable to Las Vegas. It does generate 7 times the revenue. Reason being is in the early days, Central City was where they milled the ore. So they were doing really well compared to Blackhawk. Blackhawk was like the hole where we're digging it. Central City, they mill it and they get the money. So what they did is they said when they passed this gaming, Central City, you have to abide by these rules. Blackhawk, you know, you took one for the team years ago. We're going to give you a little bonus here. You can allow the corporations in. And that's why there's such a difference in the revenue. There's currently 17 casinos open, 10 have table games. And again, population in 2016 was 127. So that's not much. Actually, they're starting to build in the hills and stuff. They built a lot of condos and stuff for the dealers. These are the ones that are like currently open right now. The Ameristar, it opened back in 2006, largest casino, 40 tables, poker room, rooftop pools, and 536 rooms and suites. The swimming pool, oh yeah, it does say rooftop. I always thought that was funny. Go to the pool and it's on the roof, and there's snow out there.
Yeah.
Okay, the Gilpin's open. They don't have table games anymore.
Oh.
Only slots, and they don't, it's not even a hotel anymore. However, they do have a good restaurant. This is the Golden Gates. For any poker players, this is where they play the Heartland Poker Tours. And also they have their own Colorado Poker Championships. I was able to play in one. I wish I could say I cashed, but I'd be lying. And Mardi Gras is its sister property. It's right across the street. There's a little bridge that connects the two, because it can get cold. You know, that wind whips down that street. So that was a good thing putting that in there. And they, again, Mardi Gras has most of the table games that you'll find, a restaurant, a buffet, and a Dunkin' Donuts for those that like Dunkin' Donuts. These are the chips, some of them. These chips are from my collection.
Oh.
Again, you know, it's Chipco. This one's seen the table. The edges are warm. But that's the one thing I don't like about the Chipco chips, is if they seen the table, they tend to fade a little, and they're beat up from the dealer notes and stuff. It took me a couple years to figure out, hey dummy, if they're open, go to the cage and ask for the new ones.
Yeah.
Now I know better. The Isle Capri, again, you know, it's a huge chain. 1,100 slot machines, video poker, table games. They also have a sister property. And I was able to get a grand opening chip from them.
Oh.
So, the Lady Luck is their sister property. I was actually in there one time. I didn't know much about craps, but I was learning to deal it. And that's a whole different story. I came down here to Binion's when it was still Binion's. And, well, that's a different story. But I went there to play craps after I thought I knew what I was doing. And the table that they had, I was amazed. It survived the hurricane in
Mississippi?
Mississippi, thank you. And it actually had a little plaque on there that said, you know, Biloxi.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
It is.
But this was just sold. I forget who exactly bought it, but it's another corporation, I'm sure. Golden Gulch. This is still open. It has 140 slots, and it's the second smallest casino. And the Lodge. The Lodge is still open. That's a pretty good size one too. Huge gaming pit. Electronic game 17. Only Pygow in Colorado. And the Riviera. Used to be the Riviera, that's it. Now it's the Monarch. They are still renovating this. Every time I go up there, there's something closed. They tore down the old parking garage completely. They were going to expand, and it's changing so much up there. I mean, even as I speak, I'm sure that they're adding or tearing something out. Red Dolly, it's still open. 128 slots. It's only open from 8 to 2. Just because they have a 24-hour thing doesn't mean that all casinos are going to do that. They don't have, you know, table games anymore. I was actually trained to deal by one of the pits at this casino. And she was telling me when they got security cameras that the owner was in Louisiana, and they got a phone call. what's that dog doing in my casino? Sir, that dog belongs to so-and-so. He's one of our better gamblers. I don't care. We don't want him in there. You don't understand. This guy is here 6 out of 7 days a week. Owner didn't want to have nothing to do with it and asked him to leave. I couldn't believe it when I heard that story. But this is kind of neat. They have old Brat Pack photos on the walls and a great $5.99 prime rib. I mean, you can't get that here. The Saratoga, this is one of the newer ones. Used to be Fitzgerald's, and they have the $2 blackjack, so a lot of people probably play there. Wild card. This was when they opened in well, not when they opened, but in 2009 when they went to the $100. Most casinos you couldn't smoke in like the slot areas, and I don't think you can. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think you can smoke in those casinos.
Oh,
I think
I
you
was
have to
just there
step
last week.
outside.
Can't smoke anywhere.
Yeah, that's what I thought. This one did allow it for a little while, and I think somebody caught on, maybe the fire marshal or the gaming commission. But yeah, it was nice to be able to sit down and throw, $20 in the slot machine and sit down and enjoy a cigarette. But this has really good food too. Johnny Z, or this one's actually the Z. This actually opened in 2014. He's opening them all over the place now. He's got one in Black Hawk, one in Central City. I believe he just opened one a year ago. I know I was out of the state, and believe it or not, I need the damn chip. That's one I do not have. Closed ones. Black Hawk, that was that huge building, became Ameristar. They ran out of money, I guess, it became an anchor, I should say, and the corporation decided to sell it. Black Hawk Station, that's a beautiful chip. I love that train. I'm also an avid steam train enthusiast, and when I saw that chip, it's like that's the one I have to have, and I was able to get it. Blazing Saddles. But this is what I mean with these chip coat chips. They're just so much detail. You don't see that in most $5 chips from other states. Bronco Billy's. I love that chip too. I was one jack off. That's classic. Bull Durham was a blacksmith shop. That's the actual picture of the casino. Doesn't look like a casino, does it? But that's actually it. And then Bullwhackers, they had Bullwhackers, and they had a bullpen upstairs. Claim Jumpers, Colorado Station, or Central, again, the train. I love trains. Veterans Day, some of these casinos actually did have like commemorative, like holidays and stuff like that. Cracker Factory, that's just Kirk's Palace. I don't think they ever had chips. I was not able to get one if they do. But again, look at that total detail. It's amazing. The El Dorado and the Eureka. The Eureka is double-sided. There's both sides. It's a little faded, but And Fitzgerald's was there, the Gold Mine, Gregory Street. These are all closed, so Harrah's and Jazz Alley, Lily Bells. Not really much difference between the front and the rear, other than one says casino and one has the year. A lot of these casinos were only open a short time. Like for instance, this one, 2 years. Mountain Casino Autos. Autos was actually, they had a good restaurant. Black Forest was in Autos years ago. the Piccadilly, Prospector, Richmond, and Riviera, the Rolling Inn. Now, Central City, known as the richest square mile on earth because of the gold rush. True preservation of history. This is what I was talking about earlier. Buildings are limited to 53 feet, so they can't build these high rises and bring in the corporations. A lot smaller, population 733, so that's a huge. They actually were trying to figure out how to get business in there, and they, out of their own pocket, paid to have a 4-lane exit put in from I-70, which is about, what, 5 or 7 mile run?
Yeah.
It's,
4-lane is just real nice.
yeah, oh, it's really, it's really nice, but that was a big expense, and you didn't have a drive-through Blackhawk, so you couldn't stop. You're coming in the back door. That was their goal there. These are open ones, Century. Again, they have the walkway, and I think that's a hotel room, I believe. But they don't have, 26 rooms, 2 restaurants, $7.99 primary. Gospel Alley. I don't know, again, I don't think they had chips. I think they just have the $5 toast. But they do have a brewery on site, and from what I hear, I don't drink. From what I hear, they're pretty good beers, and the food's great. Easy Street, again, it's open. Games are just electronic, no table games. And Millie's has good cream chili, if people, steaks and seafood. Johnny Z. This one just opened not long ago, 8 years ago. Big. It doesn't look like it, but it's pretty big on the inside. They use both Bud Jones and Chipco chips. And they do have the commemorative ones they get, for holidays and stuff like that. I just kept one. These are all closed. Annie Oakley's, Baby Doe's. They had a second Bullwhackers. It was run by the same people that ran the one in Blackhawk. Central Palace, Dylan's Eagle, Doc Holliday's Gaming. Again, these, I was never able to get chips. A lot of these don't have chips, but I wanted something from there, so I got tokens. And again, the detail on these is just, I find it amazing. All closed, but, 11/1 of 91 to 11/13. Well, look at this one. This one was open all of 3 weeks. And there's, these chips are just, some of them, but that's why I became a collector, is because of stuff like this. You can't tell I'm partial to the Mayor Willie's, can you? That was one of the first times that I ever paid more than $500 for a chip, and I love that chip. There's only 62 known. I have business cards in the back, well, not business cards, but my website with a picture of that chip. That's for anybody that wants to, I have my own website with all personal chips in my collection for anybody that would ever want to look. Just take one of those cards on your way out and go to the U.S. casinos in Colorado, and you can see these chips. Again, this one was only open a little over a year. That other one, 6 months. It's 10/1 of 9. Okay, that's 4 years. But a lot of these open and closed in the same year. And it's just, how could they do that? The Reserve, that was Fortune Valley. Before then, it was Harvey's Wagon Wheel, and now it's the Grand Z, and that is the chip I need. If anybody has the, not the Reserve, it's Grand Z. If anybody has that Grand Z, I'd like to talk. I mean, I know it's current, but the Silver Slipper, Tower House. This was pretty interesting. They have the face on the floor. And that's kind of a bad picture of the outside of the building. But their chips actually look like that. This face was actually painted there by Herndon Davis in 1936. I thought I had more info on that. Anyhow, it was an artist that was hired by the owner, and she didn't like something that he was doing. And he said, well, I can get, she fired, is what happened. She fired him over something really silly, and he wanted revenge. So the bartender said, hey, come back here tonight, I'll let you in. And he came up with this, put her face on the floor. And it's just, I mean, that's their trademark. But it's amazing how something like that happens over a silly spat. Glory Hole in Fortune Valley, again, that was 3 casinos ago. Cripple Creek, again, 1859, gold rush, considered to be the middleman as far as, Black Hawk and Central City go. It's on the rebound. They just had a wildfire and rock slides. As a matter of fact, I was in New Mexico, I believe, collecting chips at the time, and I was driving back into Colorado, and I'm like, yeah, do I want to go to Cripple Creek? And right before it was funny, about 5 miles before I got to my turn, I heard on the radio that there was a rock slide and that road was closed, so I went home. But it has only 450 rooms in the whole town. I mean, that one casino, Ameristar, has more than that. They are in the process of adding rooms, although they don't want to be like Black Hawk with the huge. But there was population 1175. It's the largest of the 3 towns, area-wise. But casinos, no. In 1896, there was 2 disastrous fires. Well, the first one was April 25th, destroyed half the town. The other was just 4 days later, and if it didn't, if it was still standing, it went. So most of the buildings that are there now are from 1896. These are open ones, and there's not really many of them anymore. Kind of simple chips, but I like them. Brass Ass, I mean, some of the names that they came up with were some of these casinos. The Century is still open. Colorado Grand, that's one of the original ones. That opened. There was, I believe, 8 that opened in 1991 when they passed that. And I think there's only 2 or 3 that still remain open. Most of them closed. Only Silver Strikers is at Johnny Nolan's. And I've been in there, 15 years ago. Same Silver Strike. Went in there before I left. Same Silver Strike. They don't change like the Four Queens and other places, here. It's just the one. But I hear, I read in the CCA magazine just recently that they're going to start putting those in different states now. So, God, I don't need to start collecting those again. Anyhow, you got the J.P. McGill's and Midnight Rose. That opened just a year after. It was Buffalo Billy's and Bronco Billy's. Different chips, same owners. 6 of one, half a dozen. I am missing 2 chips. Big Jim's and Wildwood. Those just recently opened, believe it or not. One opened in 2011 and closed in 2014. Wildwood is still open, and I don't know how I didn't get there, but I didn't. These are closed ones: Aspen Mine, Black Diamond, Bowl of Gold, and Cracker Jacks. What I thought was interesting is this Bowl of Gold. Remember this design, because they have another casino here that is pretty close to that. Diamond Lils, Elk Creek. Again, these were, May of 92 to December of 93. That doesn't give you much time. Gold Creek, I don't know when it closed. I could not find any information on that. But these are just, the ones that are not open anymore. Golden Eagle never opened. Hey, I got a pristine chip. It never saw the table. The Imperial became Big Jim's. The Independence, I'm not sure who owns that now. But the Jubilee, Long Branch. Here we go. The Loose Caboose. Remember I said, remember the Bowl of Gold? Oops. Doesn't that look kind of similar to the Loose Caboose? They're identical. It's unbelievable. But I was happy because I got a smiling train. And then there's Lucky Lola's. And again, look. Isn't that amazing? The back side of those chips, all they did is pretty much change the front. And I believe 3 casinos use those. Then you have the Old Chicago, kind of like the restaurant, and the Orr House, and then O'Reilly's. The Phoenix, the Palace, the Silver Mine. I wish I could have, I didn't collect when these, I wish I would have. That would have been neat to go in there and take some pictures and actually get some nice chips. Treasure Mountain, that's kind of a hard chip to get. Uncle Sam's and the Wild Horse. This is a coining center. I believe I have 2. I have the Lodge, it's similar to that. And then Womack's. I actually went to I got laid off in 2005. I was in the communications industry. I'm union. They said, we'll send you to school for anything but communications. That sounds weird. Why? Well, we don't want you going out there and working for the competitor. Well, I was collecting chips at the time. As a joke, I said, put me on the winning side of the table. They said, we'll pay for dealing lessons. I'd be a fool not to go. So I went, took the poker classes. I liked it so much, I went back and took the regular blackjack and carnival games, as I like to call it. They're Colorado's version to get around the $5 max bet. And in 2008, I heard, hey, they're bringing in craps and roulette. So again, I went back. I can't find it. I thought I brought it. I do have a valid Colorado gaming license. It's valid till January of 2019, although it's probably not since I don't live in the state anymore. But this was the school I went to. And I was amazed. I didn't think anybody would have this chip, and hey, I got one to put in the chip guide. Now, somebody already beat me. I don't know who, but I thought, oh, there's the gaming license. Then, like I say, it is valid until 2019, but probably not since I'm not a resident. And I think that's about it. Anybody have any questions? That's a half hour, right?
How many casino closed in Colorado? It's like the biggest state that has the most casino closed.
I would think that there's probably more closed here over the years, but I would say at least 70 probably closed. Yeah, they didn't set them up well. Just limited space and not much advertising and exposure.
They limited the government limited so much in what they did.
Yeah.
It was very tough.
When people think of Colorado, they think of ski, you know. So they go there for the winter seasons, and believe me, I lived there for 22 years. I had a Mustang convertible. The last thing I want to be doing is driving around the mountains in the winter in a convertible with rear-wheel drive. I mean, I'm good in the snow. I grew up in the Midwest. I have no problem. It's just people go there to ski. They don't go there to sit in a casino in the middle of December or January. So they kind of handcuffed some of these casinos. It really wasn't fair. That's my feeling. Any other questions? Well, thanks for getting up so early. And Table Lake rules.